Good evening, everyone, and happy Halloween. Happy Tuesday. Thank you to everyone who is joining me on this spookiest of Halloween Eves. Maybe you're still dealing with trick-or-treaters. Maybe, just maybe, you actually went out for Halloween. Anything is possible, but tonight we are bringing a little bit of magic to our Learning Live. Just give it maybe another 30 seconds or so for people to join in. Hello, everyone. Hope everyone is doing well. I'm just going to move my lights just a little bit. It's hard to tell on this white background, but let me tell you what I am going to be playing with tonight. This mat will not be white by the time we are done. And here we go, just waiting for that camera. You guys know the drill. You know where we are. Tonight I am playing with the new Iridescent Embossing Powders from Hero Arts. There are 4 new colors, and I apologize, my eczema is acting up a little bit, and looks like our internet is acting up a little bit as well. So I got the gloves on tonight. I don't know how long they'll stay on, but in hopes of keeping my hands safe, then this is what we're going with. There are 4 new colors. 4 colors in total. They're all new. We have iridescent copper. We have iridescent gold. And then these 2, you might not be able to tell from the jars, but one is purple and the other is blue. Sadly, no iridescent green, but maybe that is coming in the next release. So I was playing with these a little bit recently, and I've learned a few things. It's kind of fun. It's a lot of mess, so you're going to want to make sure that you have baby wipes and cloths and things kind of close by, and make sure that your surface, your desk, pardon me, doesn't have a lot of extraneous stuff on it, because it's going to all twinkle by the time we are done. So I'm going to start off, and I'm going to do something on purpose. You guys are going to be like, really? Really? That's what you're going to do? I'm going to start on some white paper. All of these powders are kind of a hybrid in that they are a mix of a embossing powder as your binding agent and a mica powder for your color, which means at the end of the day, they do work better on darker colors than on lighter colors. But I do want to start off with the light just to show you what they look like. I'm going to start off with a stamped image and my embossing ink, just like we typically do with embossing. And then I'm going to graduate and move up to some other mediums. And I've got some craft paper here. And I have some black paper here. This is the black heavy stock. And I don't know, taking a brand new piece of black heavy stock out of the package, it almost looks like velvet. So that's going to be fun to play with. But I'm going to start with white. And I just have a little strip here because this is really just for demonstration purposes. Actually, is this piece a little bit bigger? Another little piece over here. Nope, they're pretty much the same. So I'm going to stick with what I've got. The other thing that I have just off the side is I have some computer paper that I use as a scratch paper pad. I have actually labeled them, one for each of the colors, because typically with my embossing powders, I'll just use one of these for all the different colors that I've got. But you'll see why I want to have a separate one for each color this time around. So I'm going to start. I've just got this flower stamp, and I'm going to do one at a time just because I don't want my colors to mix at this point. Am I going to get the whole thing? No. Just going to ink it up and do one here. And we are going to be going back and forth, so I will have my heat gun going a fair bit as well. I'm going to start with the iridescent blue, and this is going to be a little shocking. This is going to be a little shocking, and you're just going to have to trust me that we are doing the right thing. So because this is a hybrid, we want to make sure we shake it up really well so that that embossing powder mixes with the mica. And so when we dump it out, like so, and you can already sort of get a hint of what this color is going to look like. We've got everything mixing together. So there we go. And you can already, I don't know if it's going to show well on camera, but it is starting to leave a trail, if you will, on that paper. And yeah, I'm being pretty generous.
White on white?
Well, I'm not saying white on white. And again, this is where the magic is going to start to happen. But again, we're going to trust, because I did say white isn't always the best. All right, let's watch this one. Get this heated up a little bit. It's going to start to go. And like all embossing powder, it's not something that I can say, oh, it's going to take 10 seconds, it's going to take 20 seconds. You do just have to kind of trust the process. And maybe this one I'm only going to do once, because I will tell you that all the colors end up looking very similar on the white. Okay.
You should check to see if they can hear you talking while you have the thing going.
Matt is asking that I please have you guys just confirm that you can hear me while I've got the heater going. I'm pretty sure you can with my earbuds in, but just in case, please do let me know. So again, on white, you just get this very little bit of iridescence. And then I just take my microfiber cloth and I get rid of all my extra powder. And it is, I mean, it's going to show up a little bit more in person, but it does have more of that unicorn, very pale look to it. So you know what? I'm just going to jump, instead of doing all the different colors here on white, trust me when I say they're all going to look very similar. I'm going to skip ahead to the black, because this is where we're going to see the most striking of differences. So here I've got the black.
You were right. I was wrong.
Okay, guys. I don't know if you heard that, but we now have documented videotape proof that Matt said I am right and he was wrong.
In that situation.
And we will just keep that for a moment. We will.
Uh-oh, the internet's going crazy. We're going to lose connection in a minute.
Good times on a Tuesday night. All right, so let's go on to black. And already I'm starting to see little traces, and this is where the powder goes crazy. But rest assured, things are going to be able to be wiped off. All right, so I'm just using my embossing ink again. I'm making sure it's got a really good transfer, letting it sit there and soak. And, oh, you know what I did not do? I did not use my powder tool. I will do that on the next one. Ooh, I did re-ink my pads, and wow, this is looking nice and juicy. Don't know, Matt's laughing at me. But again, look at, that's just from the embossing ink pad. Love it. That's when you know life is good. Okay, so don't be afraid. Don't be afraid, because when I do this, all of a sudden, look at that. And those trails, though, that glow, don't you worry about that. I will take care of it. All right, so now this is tapped off. I'm going to put this back in. But again, you are going to get traces of that mica powder on your scrap paper as well. So that's why I have a different one for every color. All right. I'm going to be brave. I'm going to, instead of heating this, I am going to stamp again. And yeah, I'm getting colors kind of all over the place here. Let's do another one right here. I am doing the powders one at a time, but I can keep them all together. This one is gold, so I'll do gold next. Where is my gold? My gold scrap. Give it a shaky shake. And here we go. I'm just kind of spread it around and dump. Look at that. And again, don't worry about that halo. Have faith. All right, we're going to get rid of this guy.
Are you gonna heat emboss that yet?
I have not heated it yet. No. I have deliberately, well, in an ideal world, you take your time and you heat each one. But in the interest of time, I'm going to do it all at once. So another one here. I'm going to make sure that I'm going to be able to get that fourth one in. And again, you want to press firmly. You want to allow that ink to transfer from your stamp into the paper. Give it just that minute to soak in. This one is copper. This is the one that I have quite a bit on mica, but not had a little bit of trouble last night when I was playing. But on the black, it's going to look amazing. I'm just making sure it's getting in all the spots. Dump. I mean, it's looking pretty awesome just like that, but maybe not as clean as you might want. All right, and then again, especially here, that's where you don't want to be mixing your colors. And then last but not least, let's see if I can squeeze. You know what? I'm gonna do the three, then I'll come back and do the purple. That way I can give it a little brush. All right, bear with me with the noise. Here we go. And get this heating up, and the magic is happening. Here, there's one. There's two. And number three. And this was the exact same powder that I did on the white, but you really do need that black to offset this and really make it shine, pun intended. All right, so I'm just taking a microfiber cloth to start with. I do have little granules all over. But then, yeah, you can just dust your paper away. And look, I didn't even powder this. I probably should have. Ooh. Ah. And then while I've got those done, let me see if I can squeeze in. Maybe this one's going to have to be the outlier, and he's going to have to be upside down. But let's squeeze in a purple as well. So there's my ink. And if Darlene's, no, Darlene's probably out trick-or-treating, but for all my purple lovers out there, and again, don't forget to shake it. That's kind of one of the main tips that I will say is make sure you shaky, shaky, wakey, wakey. And all right, while I'm getting this last one ready, Matt, are there any questions? You can see that ghosting of the purple a little bit.
Not really. It's just people going ooh and aw.
Ooh and aw, those are good songs.
Chris says it looked like it was growing as it melted.
It definitely has a sparkle to it, and that's again like all embossing powders. It's one of those things that I can't tell you what it's going to do, but you will know it when you see it. All right, here goes the last blast for the purple.
Oh. Oh.
Even Matt is impressed over here. Yes, it is a very dramatic change. And then again, we'll just, oh, maybe I should have waited a second. I just didn't let it cool, but. So beautiful, beautiful colors. Really, really super striking on the black. Not so much. Now again, this has its uses, and I know Darlene was already her brain was going very unicorn kind of look. This would be great for sentiments and things. But white again, there's just not a lot of contrast, so it really depends on the look that you're going for. And I am all about drama, so I love how this kind of came together. Now that's using the stamp. What else can you do with embossing powder that's going to create you some great drama, some great effects, and where you might want to use this iridescence over, say, um, a typical embossing powder. So you can use it in a stencil. So I'm actually going to use one of the Picket Fence pouncers, and I'm going to use the embossing ink again. Let me do, what have I got off to the side here?
Sorry, did you say using it in the stencil?
I'm using this in the stencil. So I got this cute little one. Um, it's got these little, I call this a deconstructed rainbow, but I'm not really sure what size or what shape it's supposed to be. This time, just for fun, I am going to do it on some craft paper. And I do find the purple and the blue kind of the most dramatic. So I think I'm going to stick with those two colors for the rest of the evening. Unless somebody wants to see something with the other colors, and I may come back. But here's my blue. I'm going to do some blue on the craft. And so what I'm doing here, do I have some yellow tape? I don't know how my gloves are going to work with the yellow tape, but we'll try. Just because I want to tape it in place. So I'm just going to do that just to make sure it's together. Here, I'm going to take my pouncer. If you guys don't know what a pouncer is, it essentially is a marshmallow on a stick. Not really. Don't eat it, but it certainly looks like a marshmallow. It is a foam, not so round ball on this pouncer, and it really is. It's kind of like a bingo dauber on steroids, and I'm going to use it to apply my ink. This is really good if you don't like ink blending. If you have trouble with arthritis, or if on a technique like this where you typically have trouble getting good coverage. So here I am, just pounce, 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 getting the ink in all the areas. And that's the biggest challenge with embossing ink, is it's clear. So how do you know you've got it everywhere you need it to go? I'm just kind of going top to bottom, good coverage, and then I'm going to put it back here in its little case. And just so I know that this is the one I've used, I'm just going to do that. All right, so now I can lift my stencil. Let's put the lid back on the ink. Lift my stencil, and when I do that, I see that water marking, and so I know that I do have ink down. All right, let's do some blue. Get this out of the way. And let's see how dramatic this works on a craft paper, which is kind of mid-tone between the blue or the white and the black. Again, you got that ghosting happening. Do not fret. And there we go. All right, let's put this back away. I always try to salvage as much as I can, because that way I can be generous dumping it out. Make sure I get good coverage. I like to always cap it, not because I'm afraid it's going to dry out. I'm just afraid I'm going to knock it and it's going to go flying. All right, some more heat, guys. Ooh, this is going to be nice. So with this blue color, it'd be great for masculine cards where you don't necessarily want to be deep and grungy. You want some shine, you want some magic happening. but still be in that masculine range. All right. And give it a little bufferoo. Oh, I should again wait till it cools. Wait till it cools. There we go. I'm just too dang impatient. But there. So again, the blue is showing up, but it's not as striking or as dramatic as it was on the black. But how cool is that? So that's another way that you can use embossing powder in general, as well as really getting some drama with this iridescent embossing powder. But wait, there's more. All right, should I go on, shall we do some more craft or should we do some black? I'm leaning towards the black, but while you guys are, pop in the comments, black or craft, I'm going to show you some samples. So here I was using some paste, which is what we're going to do next, but this was on the white. So again, it's a white paste. It's actually the Snowfall paste from Tim Holtz, but having it on that white background, again, not a ton of contrast, especially with the purple and the blue. The gold did show up a little bit more. And then here I still did it on the black, but because my paste is white, again, it's not getting that dramatic color that we got over here on the black. So lots of different options for looks. And I'm not saying that any of these are wrong. They're just different. So clear embossing ink. This was light and fluffy from TCW. I'm now going to take it to the next level and I'm going to use black paste on black paper and let's see what happens.
Black paper one.
Black paper one. Okay, excellent. So we're all on the same page. There's my black paper. I'm just going to give it a little buff because there is just little traces. And you may want to have like an actual clean cloth lying around. I've also been known to use a Swiffer cloth to get that off, but know that you can always buff things afterwards. All right, this time let's go purple. So I need my purple thingy here. This one has embossing ink now, so that's going to go in my water bath. Let's do, I've got some stars. So let's do some stars on here. I don't need more tape. I'm going to use my old tape and just hold it down up here. And so, like I said, this time I am using the Distress Texture Paste Black Opaque. It's positively luscious. All right, so I'm going to just take a silicone spatula this time. I'm just going to take a little bit. When it's something new, you're always best to try something in little bits and then add on. Don't go whole hog until you really know what you're doing. And I want a decent coating. You don't want it too thin because then the powder may not stick, but you also don't want it too thick because what I have learned from a lot of these pastes is that when you heat it, it's going to bubble. I know a video I watched with Tim said that if you let the texture paste dry and then heat it, it should stay smooth, but I did not have that same experience last night when I was playing. I could have just been too impatient. Maybe I wasn't letting it dry long enough, which is highly possible. Again, I'm just trying to get a nice even coat here. Put my extra back in my tub. And lift. So, I mean, first off, this looks really cool, even just with the black on black. Look at that. That would make a super cool background in and of itself. But we're here to talk about embossing powders. So I'm shaking up my purple. And sprinkly, sprinkly. Yep, I can be generous because I know it's all going back in. Just get under that. All right. Give it a little flip. Starting to come together. Don't put the lid on until you put the extra away. All right. Now I can put the lid on so I don't knock it flying. And let's give it a heat. All right. So when the paste heats, it is going to kind of bubble. It's going to raise, and that is okay. It actually does give it some cool dimension. Just know that if you start touching it, you could deflate these little bubbles. All right. Make sure you get all the spots. All right. Now, because this is paste, because it's hot, I'm not going to buff it just yet. Let's let it sit to cool. It's actually quite hot. So we're going to let that sit to cool just for a minute, and we'll come back and buff it in a second and reveal the magic. Let me just grab a sip of water. Any questions, Matt?
Linda Hardy's asking if you use the Tim Holtz glow-in-the-dark paste and use the embossing powder on top, would it work like glow in the color of the powder?
So Linda is asking if you use the glow-in-the-dark paste underneath the iridescent, would the glow still shine through? I don't know. I don't know. Let me see. Do I have my glow paste around?
At the store.
No, it's not at the store. I cannot lay my hands on it right now. Oh, no, that's glitter. Sorry, Linda, I do not have it handy right now. It wasn't something I had planned to show. So I think with my 2 cents worth, my gut instinct says if you use the glow paste with these iridescent powders, this color is going to overpower the glow. If you wanted a harder surface, you could try the glow in the dark with a clear embossing powder, but I think the paste itself will harden pretty nicely, so I'm not sure that you necessarily need to. The reason why we are using the black tonight is really just to give some extra depth and dimension. I found with this one, or with these powders, even though they do have that clear aspect to it, there is a little bit of dimension, but they are a little bit flatter than my experience with regular embossing powders. There's a little bit of dimension, but there's not a ton. We're going to the black to give it that extra dimension, that extra thickness of paste, but still having that mica shine through, because when we did it with the white, again, that blue and that purple really didn't show against the white. And again, this is another one. This I think was blue. It just got a blue tint to it. But if I really wanted that deep intensity of color, then the mica has to go on a black surface, or at least a darker surface. So I hope that answers your question. My suggestion, if you do have the Tim Holtz glow paste, try it with some clear embossing powder and see what happens. You really can't go wrong. Just, make sure you don't have the heat too close. You don't burn it. It shouldn't burn. Excuse me. But it just may not have the effect that you want. All right, so that's drying. Let's see what it feels like now. Okay, it actually is pretty cool. So let's dust and go and see what happens. Whoops. Helps if you hold onto it. There we go. There we go. So that is that black paste with the purple powder on the black paper. And if you were to see it in person, it definitely has a distinct raised texture compared to the flat embossing ink. Okay, so what else can you do with this? Whether you're using paste or whether you're using embossing ink, you can layer. So here I've got those 3 flowers overlapping each other. And if I go back to paste, if you don't want to use a stencil, here's some more cool stuff that I was playing with. And I'm going to show them here, but I'll also show you how I got them. So my goal was I wanted to create kind of that Aurora Borealis, that Northern Lights look. And I think this is the most dramatic example. So here I used a white paste, and you've got very faint coloring here on the white. I don't know if it's going to translate, but as the paste got thinner, the powder still stuck and it gave it that glow in behind. Over here, I used the black paste. I actually used black stencil butter because I didn't have the Tim Holtz at home when I was playing with it. And that worked really well as well. So how did I do that? All right, I am glad you asked. And I think what I'll do is I'm just going to do it straight on black, but the white would be the same technique. And what I needed is I need my paste, I've got my spatula, and I also grabbed a flat paintbrush. So all I did was I took the paste on the tip of my spatula and I just did kind of a strip like that, pretty thick. Can't see it that well, but there we go. So there's just a hunk, a smattering, a spread of paste. Then I took my brush and I pulled it upwards. Well, in this case, it's downwards, but this will eventually be the bottom. So here I'm trying to get not only those brush strokes, but I'm also spreading out that powder or that paste. Now, this is going to dry pretty quickly, so I'm actually going to put my brush right in the water. You're going to want to have a bunch of brushes handy. And then you can either use a spoon or I've also got, if you go to 7-Eleven and you get the slushy straws, or you can just use your fingers. I'm just going to grab a pinch of the powder and I'm going to sprinkle it. Just as if you were sprinkling glitter, or maybe if you were baking and you got a little bit of salt. So that was the blue. I'm going to try and clean off the fingers. Before I go into the next color, let's grab some purple. Purple's over here. So in between, adding and mixing. Now with this one, I'm not doing a scrap piece underneath because now that it's mixed, I don't necessarily want it to go back in the jar. And here I am with the gold. And the gold I found was very strong, so you don't want a lot. All right, so put that back in. And then if you want, if you have another paintbrush, or you can just use your fingers, I just tried to drag it in that same direction that my paste was, like that. And I'm just going to shake it into the trash can to get rid of the excess, but now I'm going to heat it. All right. So it really is fun to kind of mix those colors. We're going to get some bubbles. Where the paste was thicker, you're going to get bigger bubbles. Where the paste was thin, you're going to get small bubbles. There's a little area over here. All right. So as I bring it, oh, that's hot. Just be careful. Again, I have not buffed it to get rid of some of that excess. Hopefully not too much of it will go away because that's kind of cool. but you can see the brush strokes. You can see the colors mixing. And I mean, that same technique you could do through a stencil as well. I mean, I was trying for a specific effect, but you can absolutely mix colors together. Um, Maybe we'll try that. Maybe we'll try that next. So here, let's grab one more piece of black. I'm going to grab a bigger stencil this time. I've got this one here with the sun, or sorry, the moon and some clouds. Let's tape that and a little bit more tape just to hold everything in place. Back to my black. I'm going to cover the whole stencil area here in paste. Just so we've got some fun shapes to play with. Just like spreading icing. Don't taste it though. I can only imagine that this does not taste like licorice. All right, a little bit more. And yeah, I've got it pretty thick this time. Let's scrape some of it back in. All right. I am scraping as much off as I can because I'm actually going to apply my powder with the stencil still in place. And the reason for that is I'm actually going to put this in water now because I think I'm done with that spatula. The reason why I'm doing that is because we do want to kind of pat it into the surface. So if I leave the stencil in place, then that means I'm not going to squish out my shapes. So there's some gold, little chunky chunks. There we go, like that. That's the gold. You know what? And you know, because we're being adventurous, let's do all 4 colors. Let's do some copper. That copper is also pretty intense. Everybody good so far, Matt? As I sprinkle and spray.
Yep.
Excellent. So you do want some bigger areas so that you get that color. That was purple. And I think I've got blue left. Where'd my cloth go? Over here? And now some blue. Blue there, blue in there, blue down here. Fill in some of my openings. All right. So before I lift my stencil, this is where I'm just going to go in and kind of pat. And this way I'm making sure that the powder is being stuck to that paste that's underneath. You can kind of swirl it as well if you find that there are areas where maybe you don't have enough powder. All right, and now, whoops, I did have a little bit too much on my extra, but that's okay. So that's going into the water bath. Let's get this up. And come over. Am I still on camera over here?
Yes.
All right, let's give this a heat. Let's see what happens. It's just like magic. I love working with embossing powders. And this paste aspect is really quite new to me, but I love how you get the dimension as well as that shine. Okay, this is turning out really awesome. How cool is that? Perfect for a hocus pocus kind of night like tonight. So this is where I would go in and just make sure that all the areas got heated properly. I'm going to let it cool just a little bit. I do have a bit of a mess situation going on down here, but man, that is pretty spectacular. So if you have not tried the iridescent embossing powders yet, I'd say start with your favorite color and go from there. That black paste, to me, is an absolute game changer. One thing we have not tried yet, which is on my list to try, is what difference a translucent paste will will have, whether you'll get that same effect or not. But I really did like the black. I mean, I like the black on its own. I like the black here on that black paper, and I certainly liked it here in this kind of streaky technique that I tried there. And this was just very much the same. This one I took the embossing ink pad and dragged it and then sprinkled. So I didn't get the same drag marks, but that's actually pretty cool. It's very psychedelic. So lots and lots of fun. So that is it for me tonight. I hope you picked up at least one technique. And I mean, some of these techniques will work with regular embossing powder as well, but the iridescent is just so much fun in those four colors. Again, remember to shake before you use it and just play and see what happens. So that's it from me tonight, everyone. Hope you enjoyed it, and we will see you back here tomorrow for What's New at 7 o'clock. And Matt says he's got some big boxes for me to showcase, so I look forward to showing them off to you. Happy Halloween, everyone. Happy last day of October, and take good care. Good night.